here in Old Swan, and yeah, another let down individual who uses survival instincts. Look at this. He's used bricks and roof slates, roof tiles and little trays to do all his cooking. No one should be living like this. Liverpool meat and fish market. There's a gym in there with a bit of a naughty reputation. Now this is still classed as the Old Swan, but it does get a little bit rougher down here. As I say, it gets a little bit rougher down this way. This bit leads on to Fairfield, where I've done a video not so long ago. Somebody's been a naughty boy. Yeah, I've got someone in the back. But yeah, down this bit, it's just as I say, it's a little bit more run down. It joins on to Fairfield, which is, well, you can go and check that video yourself and see for yourself. It's not like the Old Swan past Derby Laneway, which is a little bit more classier, isn't it? But let's start here at JD Wetherspoon, named the Navigator, previously a gas appliance store, I believe, back in the early 80s, before being took over as a pub. Firstly named the Garfield before JD Wetherspoon took over and gave St Brendan's Church next door a say in naming the pub, and with St Brendan being the patron saint of navigators, along came the name the Navigator. So let's navigate our way through Prescott Road. By the way, the smoke area at the back, this wasn't always a smoking area. This was St Brendan's social club, I believe, and when Wetherspoon took over, they knocked it into a smoking area, took away the social club. But let's have a little look at, let me cross over and we'll have a look at St Brendan's Church. So next door, St Brendan's Church, a large plain building with a little bit of Gothic detail, built in 1961. It is a simple barn-like structure, which, guess what, now lies derelict, like many other churches. Let's go and have a little look. Let's go and check this out. Obviously some of the windows have been put in there, as you can see, very littered. 1961 building, but look at it now. I believe the Old Swan Boxing Club is taking this over. Here's the back. Here's the back of the St Brendan's Church. What was. You might be able to take a little look around the back, maybe. There's obviously some building work going on here. There's nothing really going on there. Maybe there's not building work going on. Now next door to St Brendan's was, and I'll insert a picture, the former Regent Cinema, built in the mid-1920s. That's all I could find. And later, as I remember it, was a quick save. But it wasn't the only cinema along here. But we'll take a look at the next one in just a bit. Of course, we have a Betfred along with the Northwest Ambulance charity shop on the end there. Just a little look at what was next door to Quick Save. But the place I want to show you, the place of interest. Look at this magnificent building here, the Black Horse. The Black Horse was originally a coaching inn, essential for the regular changing of exhausted horses and a rest for the passengers when Prescott Road used to be a run for the horse and carriage, really, from all the way up to St Helens, past through Prescott, and that's probably why it's now called the Black Horse. Some relevance to that in its history, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, I couldn't find out really, but nobody knows why it's called a Black Horse, but I believe it's the relevance of it being a coaching inn. And I believe from the early 1900s it later evolved into a bakery as well. So it's been a coaching inn, a bakery, now it's the Black Horse pub. And this is our next building. That's the Old Swan Library, look at that. Opened in 1913 as a reading room, as you can see. Still has the Victorian black and white features, which is on the corner here of Leinster Road, one of the 4 historic provinces of Ireland, and probably why the next 2 roads are named Munster and Ulster, but there's no Connacht, the 4th Irish province, and I don't know why. Does anyone else know why? And here is the other cinema, the former Curzon cinema. I'll insert a picture. I have found some pictures online of this building. Now, as you can see, is a home bargain. The building dates back to October 1936 as a cinema. In 1959 and 1960 it hosted live wrestling shows, but they must have been an absolute disaster because later that year in 1960 that ceased and the wrestling stopped. And in March 2015 or thereabouts, I'm not exactly sure on the year, but it was definitely around 2015 area, the whole building was demolished. Again, I've got some pictures of that, and completely rebuilt, and I remember that like quite well. I can't believe it was 10 years ago. And the Masons, this was another coaching inn built in early 1800s. Obviously now a well-established boozer. The Red House, does anybody remember the Red House? Well, it was another pub that bit the dust in around 2015 when it became a Costa coffee shop. But even before it was the Red House, it was a post office with a cockpit for cockfighting at the rear of the building, which was built in 1892. But I'm sure in the 1980s, during some renovation work, they found an unexploded bomb there. And am I just imagining that? Can someone help me out with that? Now, just opposite, the Old Swan, but all the locals will know it as the White House, even though it's been painted a bit of a bluey grey now. And this White House here is one of the oldest buildings in Old Swan, built in 1775. Now this view over here has changed massively. Does anyone remember when St Oswald's flats dominated the site where the Tesco is now? Again, I'll insert a picture. It was a brutalist 4-storey building with the first row, or the first tier, like a row of shops, a myriad of all kinds of shops, and the upper 3 were all flats. Let's walk along HSBC here on the corner. Also, before I move on, does anyone remember in about maybe late 90s, early 2000s, a Liverpool or Old Swan, I want to say legend, named locally as Tony Beep Beep? I always remember him. A really happy, always smiley man standing. He would stand there at these lights here and with his thumb up and making it almost compulsory for everyone to beep, and just to watch his face light up when everyone beeped was unbelievable really. But we'll move on, let's talk about others. Now to possibly my favourite building in Old Swan. Built in 1893, becoming the Bank of Liverpool in 1906, before becoming the only thing that I remember it as, a Barclays Bank, which they took over on December 15th, 1969, but ceased exactly 48 years later, closing on 15th of December 2017, and standing empty ever since. But what a magnificent building that is. Let's get a little zoom in on that, the tower at the top. Ah, it's some building, isn't it? I've got a little story about that as well, this building as well. Now, when it was a Barclays Bank, the first person that opened up had to go all the way to the top and check the rooms at the top to make sure that nobody had broken in overnight. But it's magnificent, isn't it? But just over the road, on the opposite side of Derby Lane, let's go a little bit. This used to be another pub called the Signet. Obviously a reference to the area of the swan, as a cygnet is a baby or a young swan, should I say, and the old name is reflected in the new furniture shop, Signature. Look at that, St Oswald's Church. Now this was built in 1842, but in 1950 some major rebuild work was done, and in 1989 the spire was completely rebuilt, and I want to go in and just show you a little something inside. Next door used to be St Oswald Convent and School. It looks like it's going to be maybe apartments now, and there's even over there. We'll get a closer look. Oh, look at that. And such lovely grounds as well. Look at that. There's one in particular I would like to show you, and you see all the brickwork's been cleaned and certainly been repointed there. Look at that, that's a nice one, isn't it? Let's have a little bit quiet. But look at this one. If you notice on here, I'll zoom in so I don't step on the grass. There's a swan feeding its 3 cygnets. I don't know if you can see that. I'll make it out. That's a lovely tomb, as far as tombs go. Well, yeah, that was the old school and convent. But next door is St Oswald Primary School, and that's got a bit of history in itself. And I'll talk to you about that now. Look at this though. Please pray for Father Joseph Flynn. Oh yeah, next door, and with these railings, is St Oswald's Primary School. This site, let's just have a little look around here. Yeah, but this site next door where the school was, right there, this has extraordinary history with the mystery of, there was 3,651 burials that were discovered in the mid-1970s when they were exhumed and cremated, and sadly nothing is known about the bodies because they were buried before the death records began, but historians believe they were plague victims from the 17th century. Yeah, so this building's new. They're extending at the side. You can see them putting the concrete slabs in. Anyway, we move on. Past Mill Lane, that's a very round building, isn't it? We move on. We're nearly there now. There's a couple of more buildings I want to show you and then we'll be done. And does anyone remember this building as the paraphernalia shop? Well, that's what I remember it as, here on the corner of Edge Lane. Originally it was the Queen's Arms, but that was demolished in 1956 and rebuilt in 1957 as the paraphernalia shop. The Glasshouse pub, who remembers the Glasshouse pub? A lot of us have probably drove past this if you live in Liverpool, as it's right on Edge Lane. Now this was built in 1926. Obviously a previously very impressive building. It's certainly lost its grandeur for sure. But I believe this closed just after lockdown, about 2020, 2021 maybe. And it's been on the market ever since for just over £300,000. Now, there's been all kinds of rumours, to be honest, as to what it is going to be, but I don't think them rumours are true at all. Costa Coffee was sniffing around apparently, but no, it's as much as a mess, and for £300,000 you're getting a lot of building. Obviously, you'd have to start again. But yeah, it's impressive though, isn't it? You've got to admit. Even as run down as it is now. The Glasshouse. That's sad, isn't it? That is just